Good morning. I'm your host, Fred Ellis, on your pottery adventure. This is Something Southern Pottery. We want to welcome you and hope that you have an enjoyable experience with your pottery. There's Jalen busy at her wheel making pots. Here's Laura, she's sitting in her area decorating the pots. Good morning and welcome to Something Southern Pottery. For those of you who have visited us before, thank you for coming back. Be sure that you please like and subscribe. Any of you that are visiting for the first time, I hope you find something you can use, or I hope at least you're entertained and enjoy the videos. I'm going to be trying to make a plate today. So we're going to, it's a wider bottom. We need a wider bat. So I use the larger adapter ring. So I'm gonna wedge it a little bit and put it as close as I can into the center of the wheel. Get your hands nice and wet, a little lubricant. Potters use water to lube their clay. It makes it soft and pliable. Plus it makes it slick, goes through your hands. So what we're going to do we got this in the middle of the wheel. It's fairly centered. Now the next thing we're going to do is anything over a pound of clay, I cone up. And the reason I cone up is to equalize the liquid in the clay. Now when we reach the cone as tall as you want it, then all you do is form your hands in the same way and push down on it. And as you can see, pushing down, it more or less centers that clay for you, because you've got a compression between this hand and pushing down with this hand. And these fingers are you're still using them, although you're not putting a great deal of pressure on. You're not trying to pull that clay any longer. It's centered. You're just trying to get this, even using these fingers, to flatten out. We are making a wide bottom plate. So I'm going to try and take this clay. I open a hole in the center to the depth that I want the pot. And I pull out. I pull toward me. Now, since I haven't made this particular pot in a long time, I want to check the depth and make sure I'm leaving enough clay in the bottom to form a nice pot. So I stop the wheel. I take what we call a needle tool. You can buy these at any pottery supply. Dick's Art Warehouse. I think you can even get a set at Michael's or any of the art and craft stores like that. They'll give you a sponge, they give you some tools, and one of them is a needle tool. All I do is I push the needle tool down in the bottom, run my finger down till it touches the clay and stop. And I know that pot is going to be about 3/8 inches thick in the bottom. So now I want the rest of my pot to be approximately the same thickness. And since I'm not going to carve a foot ring in it, we'll talk about foot rings in some other pots later on. Since I'm not going to carve a foot ring, that's thick enough. If I was going to carve a foot ring in it, I would make sure that it's a minimum of a 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to try and pull this out a little further because this is how wide my plate is going to be. And I am going to compress the bottom. Now, as I said, scientific people in pottery these days will tell you that you're compressing that to align the particulate in the pots. Old-time potters will tell you, or if you read and what they're demonstrating and what they say, all they're trying to do is get that pot even, get that base even across there. And the importance of that is the thickness. It's the amount of drying you do. You have to think about drying a pot and what to do with it later on, because that pot is going to shrink. When water dries out of the pot and evaporates, it leaves spaces and the clay shrinks. Most of the clays that I use shrink somewhere between 10 and 12%. That much I can stand. More than that, you run into a possibility of cracking. We'll be talking about cracking later on. The wider the base, the bigger the possibility you have of cracking. So you want to pull this out to the width you want your pot. Now, I'm going to take a rib, and a rib is anything. I have rubber ribs, I have plastic ribs, I have wooden ribs, I have metal ribs. And the reason I have all these ribs, a rib does certain things. It smooths, it levels, it compresses. But different ribs do these things, and they're better at some things than others. Just like people are better at some things than they are at others, and other people are better than that. So what you want to do is, I want this because it has a nice straight edge here. What I'm going to do is straighten up this pot and smooth it out and compress the bottom. Now, as you can see, I have a nice smooth, even, compressed area across the bottom. I also, if you noticed, have a nice fat ring of clay out here. This is going to form my rim for my plate. So now I push that up. Remember, pottery is a push-pull. You push or you pull, and you make the pot and you make the clay do what you want it to. Now, I wanted it to spread out. Now I'm going to lift this rim and I bring it up. And there again, and then I compress the rim. You do that on each pull you make with your hands. Every time you touch the pot, whether it's coming and in contact with the pot or leaving it, you move the clay around. So I kind of think of it in terms of, I sneak up on the pot and I sneak away from it. I don't let the clay know that I'm either coming or going. That way, merely breathing, your heart rate, your pulse rate can cause you to move your hands or move enough to change the pot. Remember that. You always want to compress the rim because you want this to stay even. You want it to be formed as you can. If you can see, I have my rims just a little bit thicker than the rest of the pot. They kind of have a rounded looking edge to them. Now that I have raised this rim to about what I want, the next thing I'm going to do is lean it over because I want this plate to have a rim. So I'm just going to lean it over like that. Now I have the bottom. All right, let me lay this. I want to get this rim down a little bit because as it dries, it's going to pull back together. Now I'm going to even this a little bit. Try not to make too big a mess in the bottom. Smooth this out. Again, just that rim. And there's our first small plate. I can see I'm going to have larger, but this will make a good salad plate or side plate, something like that. I like my dinner plates to come out to the edge here, so I'm going to have to add about a half to a full pound more. Talking has got me coughing this morning, so if you'll excuse that, I hope. And just clean this a little bit. Now what we do is set this aside. I'll set these aside for 24 hours. All right, let's make another one and see what we can do with that. So, remember, combinations. If you watch my fingers, you'll see that they bounce and then they quit. Now it's running nice and smooth. So you cone it up. The more you cone it, the higher you cone it, the more you have moved the clay particles. And remember, why we're doing this is to move these clay particles around and the water particles and mix them together. We want them to be equal. Remember, equal is your friend. You want everything equal. Water distribution, heat, air, all wants to be as equal as you can make it. All right. Now we've got kind of a thick pancake there. Press down. I can now start to open this ball. Make a hole in the center. I use a finger. Some folks open with their thumbs. My thumbs were wore out long before I started making pottery, so I couldn't use my thumbs. It's nice to pull equally two ways if you can do it. Use your thumbs to open with. We open the pot. Smooth out the bottom a little bit. Like I say, the scientific types will tell you that you're aligning the particles. All potters call it compressing the bottom, but you're compressing it Old time potters, like I said, were just making the bottom level. Now I want to make sure that I've got close to what I started the other pot with. So I take my needle tool, put it down in the bottom of the pot. Down, look, that's close. That's close enough for the kind of work I'm going to do. So we're going to call that done. Now all I have to do is finish moving the pot out, because we want it to be a little wider than this. I can check my width against the other pot that I made by looking at my rib here. So I've got to move it out just about another 1/2 inch. So I just move this pot out here. Now I have that at about the same distance. So now I can take this rib. Remember, we're just leveling up this pot, this plate, making it nice and smooth. Smooth it out, try and make it even. All right. Now I take this little donut of clay and I begin to form a wall. And I lift the wall up. Remember what I said, you always want to reset the rim after you make a pull on your pot. So I use the combination of these 3 fingers, these 2 on this one. I can just kind of pinch them together and hold it there. And I put pressure down with this one, very gentle pressure. And I have a little rim here. Now I want to make that just a little bit taller. So I push in at the bottom and I pull some more of that clay up. Reset the rim because I have touched the pot. Mop out some of this water. There's another thing, that's one of the sponge comes in handy. For tall pots, I have a sponge on a stick. All that is the other half of this just bent over the stick like that and a rubber band put on it. Matter of fact, it may be the other half of this one. I don't know. Now then, I've got that. I've got my bottom formed in the pot. It's even across there. I have, and I use the term like most potters do, compressed the bottom. I've raised a wall. I now have that. Now what I want is I want to form me a wide rim like you find on your plates. So all I do is I just push that over that finger and push down with that one. And I level this out, even it out on there. I can slow my wheel down a little bit. I want to now even my rim up across here. So I even that up. Come back in here, clean up some of that water. I want to smooth out this transition here. I don't want it to be too abrupt. So I even that out. Get some more of the water off. And as you can see, I use some tools, but I'm not using a lot of measuring tools to get it exact. I want them to be close and show that they're in the same family, but I don't want to sit and make them all just exactly alike. All right, I think we've done enough there. You get the idea. And this is Fred Ellis with Something Southern Pottery, inviting you to like us on it. We'd like you to subscribe and follow our channel. So good day and good potting.